guys, I'm covered in action bars. Alright, that's because today we are going to be talking about an action bar add-on called Bartender. This is how, in some cases, it will show up. Other times, it will show up like down here. It'll kind of give you the standard like Blizzard user interface. It'll actually show you oops, no, that's not what I meant to do. Ta-da! So, all right. Sometimes it'll show you like the Blizzard art bar, and then it'll have everything sort of in that Blizzard art bar sort of set up as if Bartender was trying to be the regular thing. It would actually put um, like this macro menu like inside of here. Like, oh look, like it's like the same exact thing. This is exactly the way things are supposed to look. Like, look, like that's normal, right? This is the way it's supposed to look, right? And you're like, no, Blizzard, like, there's rather, not Blizzard, no, Bartender, this is not how things are supposed to look. If I'm turning on a Bartender, like, an actual action bar program, I don't want to see this stuff. That's the point of this. So I don't want the Blizzard art bar. By this point, I've probably learned how to open my bags without, like, having it be there. Like, the little mini macro menu, like all those things, like how to open up your mount and open up the guild profile, like, I should be able to do those things on my own now. Like, I should be able to open those up with keybinds. So I don't need that anymore. Like that's gone. I don't want it. And then for my bars, yeah, like maybe I do want these things. Like that was my regular bar. This was the bar that was on top of that bar. And so yeah, so maybe I'll do those sorts of things. I'll put this right here for now because that's where it was, and I don't know. Like, put that over there because it was up there somewhere, and this is another thing, and maybe bar two. Maybe bar two. I don't want enabled. All right. So, this is Bartender. This is what we're going to be playing with, and I'm going to be showing you some cool little things that you can do with it. So, lock that for now. Okay. So, bar one. Is your primary action bar. It's the one that everything is going to be on. And then, of course, you've got, if you lose track of where things are, if you actually click on this with your left mouse button, it'll show you the actual bars and you can move them around. But it also is helpful because it shows you the name of them. So if you want to know which one bar 3 is, now you know. Now, you can see that it says 12 buttons and the padding is 2 and the row is 1. Well, if you do it 12 rows, it will actually put it up and down, like so, which is nice. And if you do the same thing with number 4 and do the same thing, now you've got, now things are starting to look closer to the way they looked when you first started. And if you grab like your pet bar and put it down here, well, now things look almost exactly like they would when you first started. And that's fine. You want to grab the vehicle bar and put it, over here somewhere. That's cool. A lot of stuff you can do with Bartender. Now, what I normally do is I kind of adjust the way things look. So let's say in the case of bar 3, instead of having it have 12 rows, I adjust it so there's like maybe 2 rows, something like that. Or I could leave it like this. That's fine. Like just six rows. 6 rows is really nice actually, because then you end up with like a bar that you can just kind of chuck over here, and it's got stuff that you would click with your mouse that you wouldn't necessarily want on a keybind. You can put that over there, which is really nice. And then for like bar 5 and bar 3, maybe I do something like 2 rows, and I put bar 3 over here, and then on bar 5 I do 2 rows again, and that's 2 rows, and put it over there. So now I've got like this sort of setup, and maybe my pet, I'll put my pet over here, And so now like when I turn off the lock, like now I've got my abilities, and they look like this. All right, okay, that's cool. It looks a little bit better, I guess, a little bit more organized. But then if I want, I can keep changing things. So, like with these bars, see how they've got the little border around them? If I hit zoom, they kind of just kind of brick up a little bit, which is kind of nice. It zooms in on what they are, and just makes them look a little bit crisper, um, which is very nice. They look very good. In the pet bar, we can also zoom the pet bar. So now everything has much more like of a crisp look, and that's quite nice. You also can you can adjust cool things like visibility. So this is the one part that most people don't mess around with. So like let's say once again we'll just click on this to see what it was. Bar 4, we want to adjust the visibility on it, and we want it to fade out, and we want it to fade out completely and fade out right away, and we only want it to work when we like put our mouse over it. So now that will happen. So when we hit lock, it's disappeared. But if we take our mouse and go over, now it's there, and we can click on things, and now it's gone. So if you, in the same key that we were talking about when we were changing the Blizzard user interface, if you want to make the game a situation where it's like a little bit more immersive, like you can do that. So like with 6, you can have it fade out and do the same thing, and now it's gone, and you can still mouse over it to show it, but it's gone. Now you also can adjust specific things. So if, let's say you want that bar to show up when you're in combat, you would say hide it out of combat, and then as soon as you go into combat, it would show up. And you can do the same thing for for 3 and 4. Now it fades out. It'll show in combat but not out of combat, and the same thing with bar 5 visibility. Want it to fade out all the way, and hide it out of combat. And the same thing with like pet. Like if you wanted to do that also, you could have the visibility fade out, but in this case maybe you want to hide it when it's in combat, not when it's out of combat, or if you can have it always hide or whatever, or you want to hide it with a pet. Doesn't really matter. So now when we hit lock, you have your pet, and it's like sort of showing up, but it's not there all the way. And then as soon as we got into like combat or something, like all this stuff would start showing up. So that's kind of neat, like to be able to do stuff like that. Those are things you can do. So fade that out more. Yeah, I don't like it. All right, so that is Bartender, and you can now, like if we were to, let's say, oh man, see, look, those other ones always are gone, right? Because we made it so when we're out of combat, you can't even mouse over them. So now if we go back and want to change that or whatever, you'd go to bar 3 and say out of combat. Well, now we can see it, which is good because we want to go really quick to the Undercity. And bar 4, we want to no longer. Hey, wait. So 5. Oop, I wasn't quite fast enough. So 5, and we change that. Okay, so hide out of combat. So now they don't appear, but they will show up hopefully in combat. So click on this and go over here and fly to handy dandy dummy. Show up, dummy. Alright, so now we've got this going, and see, it didn't work, which is good because now we can see why it didn't work. So visibility, hide out of combat, hide in combat, hide out of combat. Alright, so that's bar 6. And now when we go into combat, it should show. Why doesn't it show? Show! Oh, you can mouse over it. Ah, ha ha ha. Alright. Visibility, general settings, fade out. Just, there you go. That's what it is. Alright, so you just don't hit fade out. That's how that works. I forgot. I'm very sorry. See, this is things where like now we are going to see them see a person make a mistake. Alright, so fade out, we want that one to fade out the way it was fading out. We don't want that to fade out, but we want it to fade out. We want it to be gone out of combat. So that's how that works. So if you have the fade out button, it'll fade out so you can mouse over it and have it show. But if you don't have that click, let's say for bar 3 and for some of these other ones like 5 and 6, you can't mouse over them at all. because you're out of combat. But as soon as you go into combat, the thing will show. So you clicked on this, and we attack, and now they all show up. So now, like, if you, let's say, had things that you only want to be available when you are, out of combat, or if you want things that are only available when you're in combat, you can do that. That way, you end up with kind of a little bit more, minimalist screen here. And, if you do the same thing where you turn off your chatter or turn off your map or whatever, and then all that's really showing is your little UI here. So that's it, just your little nameplate. And now the rest of the world is available for you to play with. You can see more underneath you. There's less clutter here and here. Bartender and Action Bar in general, Action Bar add-ons in general, that's what they do. They make your life a lot easier because they allow you to see more of the screen. So that is kind of a quick, sledgehammer to the face of how to use Bartender. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any more questions about things you can do, please drop me a line. This is Gigahertz, signing off. Deuces!